This is Wenge. I'm just kidding. It's pronounced Wenge, which makes perfect sense, assuming you're an expert on types of wood, apparently. I don't know, I'm more of a Cocobolo fan, personally.
Is it possible, can we do a Cocobolo?
Cocobolo desk? Absolutely. I'll get right on that.
It's also a color from the Affinity palette of colors that was released alongside their Aura paint line. Their esteemed Aura paint line, I may add. Right from the get-go, I want to say that I really love this color. And so do a lot of you, as far as I know. You may recognize it as being part of the 2023 Color Trends palette by Benjamin Moore that was recently released, which essentially is meant to predict where color is going in the world of interior design, which also kind of feeds into other aspects of design as well. No, I don't think IKEA is going to be flooded with Wenge dining room tables for you to enjoy. I wish, especially for those IKEA prices. In fact, I don't think they're going to get flooded with anything at this point because I've been waiting for a dresser to get back in stock for like 5 months now, and it's a really basic dresser that fits in my closet. Has there been more of a first world problem ever? Like, what am I even complaining about? So what I'm going to do today before I continue on this tangent forever is give you the need to know important information about Wenge, this paint color. Maybe a tad of insight as to how to use it in your home. And more importantly, I've also created a little bit of a color palette based around it, including a matching white color, a corresponding light paint color, so just a bit darker, a mid-tone, so even darker than that, and then a dark color. There's also a special bonus color for all of these 2023 Color Trends themed videos. I'm also gonna pick one of the other 7 colors that were announced that I like with Wenge specifically, in case you want 2 trendy colors in your home. I'll be sure to talk about my thoughts on color trends in general in a later video, but for now, let's put the magnifying glass on AF-180. So not too dissimilar from a previous episode we did on the color called Cinnamon, Wenge seems to be one of those colors in the palette that kind of feels normal-ish, I guess. And I don't mean that to trash on the other colors because I think the palette is pretty neat overall, but it's quite clear that there are so many different colors at play that maybe seem trickier to use, I guess, in real life, especially on your walls, for example. But Wenge seems a little easier for more people to digest. And I've already noticed this when talking to people and getting feedback on their opinions on the whole palette itself. Wenge is sort of a color we've seen before. I mean, literally, we've seen it as part of the AF color palette for years, but I'm talking about dark brown as a whole in general. Maybe not always as a paint color, but definitely in your furniture maybe, or in your dark hardwood flooring. It's a color that makes sense to a lot of people. What kind of dark brown is Wenge though? Well, it's pretty interesting because it's so deep and dark and chocolatey, it almost feels like it has this black and purple touch to it, which makes it feel a little bit different, a little bit chic, I might add. And yeah, it's very dark with an LRV of 2.65, and that means it only reflects about 2.5% of the light that hits it, and that's basically nothing. The only time I notice 2% is when I get charged for using my credit card. 2% or 3. First world problem number 2. Man, I'm on a roll. It's interesting because even though this color is as dark as some black paint colors that exist, it has enough warmth where it won't really seem black, especially with a decent amount of lighting. You really get that rich brown hue coming through if you have some nice open windows or some beautiful artificial lighting to compensate. Using this color is going to be pretty simple compared to some of the other Color Trends colors. Anywhere you would be comfortable using black, off black, brown, any of those dark colors, like on the kitchen island or on accent walls. I could also see this being a beautiful dining room color on all of the walls. You can also use it on your front door outside or even garage doors if you're feeling a little frisky, maybe in a really prestigious office. All that. There's a lot of options here. One thing that I like to do with colors this dark is if I'm using them on the walls, I want to make sure to truly envelop the space with it. That means I try avoiding bright white trim everywhere that would cut through that dark color in a pretty jarring way. And that's why I might stick to Wenge on the walls and a good portion of the trim as well for a more seamless look. Obviously, I would use different finishes on each surface, but the color itself would kind of blend together. And a quick shout out to Lisa Holt for backing me up on this on our recent live stream we did together, which was so much fun. Link up top if you missed it. She actually agreed with painting the door frame darker because it removed that one extra distraction from the whole picture that we were looking at. Dark walls, dark door, bright ceiling, bright frame. But if the door frame was darkened, it will allow that beautiful bright white ceiling to really stand out. Anyway, let's get straight into some of these color pairings, which is the best part of the video. The no-brainer white paint color choice here to go with Wenge is White Heron. This was selected as one of the 2023 neutral pairings by Benjamin Moore, which they didn't advertise heavily, but they're up there on the website if you want to check them out. There's 4 of them, and White Heron is definitely one of them. I think it's a great choice to go with Wenge because it's clean with a slight cool color cast to help accentuate some of that warmth in the brown. Cloudy Gray is my light color choice, which has a little more depth than White Heron. It also has a touch of a super light brown color, which translates to a little bit of a dusty purple almost. This is nice because Wenge also seems to have just a hint of purple as well, so they really suit each other. It's also a much more fun alternative to plain old basic gray, am I right? But before you get mad at me for picking a color that has gray in its name, let's segue immediately to our mid-tone color, which is definitely the accent color of this palette. It's called Garden Path, and although Benjamin Moore deems it as being tinged with gray, I just think of it as a beautiful, fresh sage green sitting at an LRV of nearly 43. Just one of those classic combinations of brown and green when you combine this with Wenge, which seems to work because of that connection to nature. But don't think that these two colors are just going to blend in seamlessly. They are very different looking, but they have a wonderful semi-complementary relationship. A nice dark brown room with little pups of green would be nice, but I also like the idea of developing a space with Garden Path being the main color, and then maybe having Wenge as the accent on the furniture or even on the trim. Who knows? So to finish off with our dark color pairing, at least before we get to our trendy color pairing at the end, I wanted to revisit the touch of purple we found in Wenge, but combine it with a taupe / slate gray kind of coloration. I think I found it in AF-640 Casbah. Conveniently, it's from the exact same color collection that Wenge is from, which is the Affinity AF colors. It's a really interesting smoky chocolatey plum color that sort of acts as a bridge between Wenge and the rest of the palette. It's not as dark as that super dark brown, which gives you some other options in the areas where maybe you don't want an intensely dark color. Not plum enough where it would read as mauve or mauve, but not a deadpan slate gray either. Really fun color here. But if you want maximum fun, and who doesn't want that, then you gotta check out my trendy color pairing, which I selected from the 7 other Color Trends colors for 2023. I had to give it to cinnamon because they honestly have this really nice, beautiful, warm connection, as if they're like cuddling with one another. How cute. One more Color Trends color to go, and it's a goodie. Check this out for more colorful, fun times with me.